Yeah, you want to pop on? I can put the camera back in a two-person position. We got JP Finlay sitting down with us here.
They should just put you in charge of this. Like, if you can do all this yourself here, why? Like, that's an all-fair conversation.
Yeah, JP, I was like, please don't get us in trouble or create more work for me because it seemed like we were heading down one of those two paths.
Who was sitting here previously? They were very short.
It was Nikki.
Okay.
She was the most recent live guest.
Okay.
They're just now spoiled to the audience that Trevor Sycamore was earlier, but that's fine.
Sorry.
It's
I also
okay.
don't think he's short.
No, Trevor's not. Although it was kind of funny. He sat down and we were setting things up, and I was like, why do you look short on camera next to me? Like the angle was off or something.
The angle's off, if anybody's asking. I'll sit up straight.
Yeah, here, I'll sit back and do this.
Yeah, no, we're good.
It's like when, as you know from being a TV person that you are, you put the taller guy a couple feet back, and then you're kind of
You know the real trick that, like, and I don't mean this in jest, but a lot of times it can be both men or women.
Right.
But especially if you're covering like NBA and stuff, they just get everybody a box to stand on.
Oh yeah, of course.
The box is
My
key.
guy Adam Amin is vertically challenged, and Adam does the box thing when he works with Schlereth because Mark is a mountain of a
booth?
man. Yeah, because like
They give him that 1-2 shot like for 30 seconds in the second quarter.
Right, but like also I think it helps him see the field better.
Yeah, oh, that's true. I can see that.
But like Mark is a mountain of a man.
Big fella.
I had not met Mark in person until this year. I talked to him before,
Super Bowl?
whatever. Actually, no, I went to visit Adam in the booth, and Mark was there, and I was just like, right, you were an NFL offensive lineman.
He's got 3 rings, dude.
Yeah, like, and you know that, but
and the 19 knee surgeries.
He was also telling me one time we were taping a podcast. He's like, yeah, I was benching today, hitting like 450, and I'm like, oh,
it's crazy.
Yeah, no wonder you're still a mountain of a man. And Adam is not. Mountain of humanity. Love that guy, but not a large human being.
We got Ant. Is Ant here?
Ant's back in studio.
What's up,
Ant?
JP?
How you doing, dude?
I'm great. Fantastic.
So
Coming back from break.
here's what we're gonna do with this segment. Like, what's the most interesting thing? Because Ant's been listening to obviously the folks sitting in that chair live and taped with me today, and I was gonna ask him what the most interesting thing he heard from any of the interviews that we did. But you've had your own set of interviews on your show and on your podcast. Like, what's the most interesting thing someone told you? I'll even go for you, especially this week.
One thing that isn't news, but in the world of like anything is news. I talked to Rick Spielman today.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to like it's fairly obvious, but like he's no longer working with the Commanders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a search team. They found their targets. Talking to him though about the NFLPA stuff as a dude that has run a building, you know what I mean? As a guy's been a GM for close to 20 years, and just his belief that that the Harris Group will get that right. What else is he going to say? But, like, he also chose to work with those people. Like, I believe that.
Right.
And it's just funny how, dude, I remember being here last year when that report came out, and Ron
It felt
was
like a
furious.
bombshell went off.
Dude, I can't remember. It was either me and Nikki or me and Stanig or maybe the three of us were walking down the hallway towards the J-Dub with Ron, and he was
That's how you know you're a combine vet,
furious.
by the way, is you're calling it the J-Dub.
Yeah.
You've been to too many of these things.
It's a fun week. But he was furious.
Yeah.
And he's like, we worked so hard on this stuff. And, at that point in time, they weren't even up.
They were up for
They
sale.
were for sale, right. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get my years right. But they were
The Harris Group hadn't bought, like, we didn't know it was going to be that.
totally right. And I think at that point in time, they were coming off a disappointing, I guess, 7 and 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, if we could just get the quarterback right, we're going to try with Howell. That was like Howell time. Like,
Right.
Ron being fired at that point in time wasn't really on the radar. And because of that, it was like he was trying to build his program to where he wanted it, and that's why he was so mad. Just think about how different that is in a year.
Well, it's funny because, like, I guess it wasn't on the radar for him, but, like, I think all of us knew that when a new owner came in that it was pretty likely.
It felt
because,
a little
like,
lame ducky.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, and not to, like, go back and just start bashing Ron for the sake of it, but, like, to draw the contrast is, like, he was bad at that stuff. And I think people, like, he tried really hard and he cared about it. But there's a lot of things, like, I could try really hard to make the NBA, and I really like playing basketball.
Right.
There's no shot that I'm going to go to the Pacers game tonight, apparently. Gora's got some tickets for us, which is great. But I'm going to sit in the stands because I'm not good enough to play NBA basketball. And, like, Ron is obviously much closer to being an NFL head coach than I am an NBA basketball player. But
he was one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't think that's ever going to be something you say
Doc
about
Walker,
me.
though, speaks highly of your hoops game. You should know that.
Yeah, we shouted when Ant absolutely destroyed Linnell. We had a long time to wait for Linnell, so we shot around a little bit.
I remember. I watched the whole video, and I have a very short
for that.
attention span, and I watched the whole thing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But the point is, Ron, for as much as he cared about culture and gave it the lip service and maybe genuinely like gave it the effort, he wasn't very good at it. Both in the locker room, I heard you talking about this on your show earlier. Like the locker room was a lot more sideways than I think people realize. Now he was good at keeping that relatively in house, but it definitely was not a good locker room by the end of the year. And I think like when you talk about building camaraderie in the building, like he was better at like the staff feeling respected and that kind of stuff, which was a definite draw.
Less
different
frat
from,
house, right? Like
for
that
sure,
thing was a frat
right.
house for a while,
right?
And then it was
and it wasn't. It was a professional
operation,
but it wasn't like some thriving culture that was going to breed success either.
No. And I think, you got to fire your DC. There's problems with your OC. Like it went sideways clearly. But yeah, as far as the most interesting, because there's almost this sole focus on who the quarterback's going to be at number 2, and everybody you talk to is going to have a different opinion about what the quarterback should be at number 2. Like, everything else just kind of seems secondary,
Right.
And today, this NFLPA thing, I even think like fans understand is like a different scenario,
right?
Because of ownership change, and they just got here, and it's been fun, and you get the contacts and a lot of nuance and information, but there's not like a real big buzz. I think until maybe the QBs talk. Or
QB's
honestly,
talk, and then I think the other one is like when they go throw, if McCarthy starts ripping the ball over the field, like that is something that I feel has started to pick up steam. And there's some guy I've had 2 different analysts independently say on record, sitting in that chair you're in right now, I think that McCarthy is closer to Daniels than Daniels is to May. And then I have had other people be like, watch the tape, Daniels is better than May, and you're like,
yeah,
that's how subjective it is.
Totally, and I mean. That's the nature of it, right? And that's what makes it so compelling, and that's what makes it such a crapshoot, is that you really don't know. But it's going to be – I know this, and I think I just said this on the podcast, but flying out here Monday, I thought Daniels was the pick. And I'm not saying like what I would do, but just what I thought they were going to do. Now it's Wednesday night. I don't know. I don't know.
But the thing is, I don't think they know.
I agree. I think the interviews are going to matter. If you look at whether or not Ben Johnson screwed them is debatable, but the interviews clearly matter. Just because the contextual clues they were giving out during the coaching search process changed a lot after their first interview with Quinn, because the interview mattered. Because and honestly, if you think about Ron, who kind of had this like stoicism to him, a respected professional stoicism, right? Like. You almost kind of need Quinn, who's just like this. He's like a shot of espresso. Like he's just like a ball of energy, and I think the building needed some energy. So like his personality was right at the right time for them. And I'm curious if one of these kids tonight or tomorrow, when they talk to him, could be the same.
Right. You're looking for that perfect pairing that you've got in other places, and like I really do. One of the things that especially doing the pod with Logan, like is he
not out here?
He gets in tonight, so
okay.
he's out here. We'll be taping a couple of Take Command stuff, or a couple of Take Command segments and pods and stuff tomorrow before I head out. We only cross one day because I'm here for the media and he's here for the workouts. And so
is he here to like coaching kids? Or?
No, he's here. He's here doing stuff with the Commanders.
Okay.
So he'll be doing analysis for their web, all their YouTube stuff. But one of the things that I think I've really come to appreciate more doing the pod with him and kind of sitting in the opinion seat that I sit in now versus the reporter seat that I sat in, where you kind of almost can't see the forest through the trees, is like how important that fit element is, not just schematically, but like personality-wise, the muse, if you will, right? Like Mahomes and Reed are a perfect fit for each other.
Right.
Neither of them is as good without the other, because there's a creativity to Pat that is totally unlocked by Reed, and the maybe flaws in the way that Andy thinks about football, being very pass happy, et cetera, are covered by the fact that there's nothing better you can do in the sport than to give the ball to Pat Mahomes and tell him to go. I think Brady and Belichick were perfect muses for each other.
For a while.
Well, and it took 20 years to deteriorate and, whatever. But, like, as Edelman put it, we worked for Bill, we played for Tom. That worked. And I think like even Goff and Campbell,
yeah.
like they're great. That grit that they have.
Stafford
is, like,
and McVay might be too. Like that might have worked out for all parties, right?
100%. And so like when you talk about that shot of energy and DQ, like we all think of it, it's like, oh, it's Cliff at the quarterback. Like Carroll and Wilson worked for a while because they had like this energy about them that just worked until obviously 10 years later, and it didn't.
Well, and dude, if you
like,
think about the names you rattled off there, only McVay, Stafford, and Reed, Mahomes was play caller,
right?
Quarterback. Like, I mean, Bill was a defensive guy. Campbell doesn't call the plays. Pete certainly not.
Right.
Another defensive guy. So I think we got so warped into this. They got to find the play caller to be the head coach and like be the right offensive mind. And I think we worked ourselves into that too much. And the rest of the league does not. Like when you talk to league people without microphones and lights, they're like, no, that's not.
Yeah.
That is not the end all.
Right. But I think that idea of a muse, like who's the guy that DQ's like, that's my guy. Because that's the guy I want here. And they'll make it work. If you have the play caller, it's a hell of a lot easier because that is really important. Like scheme matters in this league, but it doesn't matter as much as like I guess scheme is fungible. Scheme can be worked to the strengths and weaknesses of a player. And by the way, if you don't do that, you're never succeeding.
Totally. And I think we saw that.
Yeah, and by the way, number 2 pick wise, D'Amico and Stroud, I think they get along quite well.
Seems like they do okay.
Last year, B. Mitch and Finlay, are you doing the show from here tomorrow? One more?
I'm here tomorrow. Actually, B, if you're listening, I have to leave a little early. I didn't realize. I thought my flight was at 3:40 and my flight's at 2:40.
Oh, so you have B. Mitch and Finlay tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also, he and Mitch Tischler just recorded a Beltway football podcast, which I crashed a part of because there was a lot of gym talk, and I felt like my
you jumped right in there. It was great.
Was needed, so we hopped on that. So check that out. Real quick edition of Real Things next to wrap up the show, and then Maryland Hoops tonight here on the
Terps.
Team 980. Go Turtles!
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.